Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I am your host, Sam Vecenie. We are going to dive deep into some breaking news across the NBA with some player movement and extensions, some injury news that is unfortunate, and we're going to do 3 bold predictions each for the 2025-26 NBA season. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you doing? We got this episode, one more, and then we will be podcasting about regular season NBA basketball. And listen, I have a lot of notes on preseason NBA basketball. I've watched darn near every team, I think. Some teams even twice. We'll watch another game tomorrow. The Detroit Pistons are playing the Wizards tonight. But I would be lying if I didn't say I was ready for 48 minutes of very competitive basketball of the best players on the roster playing all 48 of those minutes.
I am very ready for that as well. I really, really need to get into some real basketball. Unfortunately, like these games, they're just not wildly competitive at the end of the day because teams are doing different things. They're trying out different lineups. Like Memphis has just been totally experimenting. It feels like when I watch them, which is really, really fun. So I want to see these games get wildly competitive and get really, really fun. But before we do that, we do have some extension news. We have some injury news. Yeah. What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the good or the bad?
Let's do extension stuff. Let's do contract stuff first.
Okay, so the biggest news, Keegan Murray's deal is done.
Yep.
5 years, 140, no player options, average annual value, $28 million a year. When we did the Keegan Murray deal for our extension preview, that was the ballpark. We said it was right around the Trey Murphy number. 4 years, 112 is what Trey got. Keegan Murray got exactly that deal, just with an extra year tacked on. 5, 140. This makes total sense to me for everybody involved. I think it is I think people don't understand yet what the going rate is and what the going rate is going to be as the cap continues to rise over these next few years for a good two-way wing starter at the end of the day. And even if you think that Keegan doesn't have the kind of upside that I still have some belief in, frankly, this is still probably the going rate for a good defensive, can shoot the ball, has some shot creation ability, isn't a zero dribbling the basketball guy.
Well, and I saw a lot of people talk about how he hasn't shot it as well from three since his rookie year. I mean, I guess my response to that would be yes, if you think he's going to continue to decrease his 3-point percentage every year, or, he's going to plateau and stay right at 34 or 35%, which I guess people can have that opinion, and it's definitely not irrational or whatever. Yeah. I guess I just assume he's going to settle in more somewhere around 37, 38%. And then maybe he never gets back to 41% of his rookie season. And I know this guy just got injured, right? But he's also played 80 games, 77 games, 76 games in his career. I think both you and I would agree he hasn't exactly been put in the best context for him to be the most successful and the most impactful on, for me, either end of the floor. So I'm fine with this number. The other thing I see is you mentioned Trey Murphy. People throw out Trey Murphy being a better player. And I think for sure Trey Murphy has more of an upside in terms of an offensive option. I would just say Trey Murphy is a very exciting contract. So I don't know that that's always the right comparison point. I know we use it as a comparison point, but I guess my point is I would gladly take Trey Murphy on that number and what I think Trey Murphy can be as a potential number 2 option on the offensive end for a team. And I'm guilty of doing this at times, Sam, but because of that, I don't know that you can always say, well, oh, Keegan's overpaid now because he makes the same amount of money as Trey Murphy and he's not as good a player. Well, I think Trey Murphy is on a very plus contract right now.
Yeah. So here's the other thing about that too. We're going off of what Trey Murphy turned into in his 4th year.
Correct.
Right. In years 2 and 3 of Trey Murphy in his career, 14.6 points, 4.1 rebounds, 1.7 assists, shot 47, 39, 87. Keegan Murray in years 2 and 3, 13.8 points, 6.1 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 45, 35, 83. So essentially, slightly worse shooter, right? We know that about him. Better rebounder. I don't think anybody would deny better defender. It's just that Trey Murphy took a massive leap in terms of his shot creation ability in year 4, which is something that, you and I have talked about as really appreciating with Trey Murphy. We thought that there was a chance that he could do that. And I do think that there was more of a chance that Trey was going to take a leap than I do with Keegan.
Sure.
But I'm just telling you, based off of the pure numbers here, like, this is just kind of in line for what these guys get at the end of the day. They get right in this ballpark of 28 million. And the thing is that the way that agents are negotiating these deals now, it's not necessarily just about what the salary cap is next year. It's about what the salary cap is going to be in 2 years, in 3 years. So when this player is in year 2 of a 5-year extension, right? So Sacramento, you can look at their kind of books, right? Keegan Murray in 2027-28. So, 3 basketball seasons from now, 2 full seasons starting like the 3rd basketball season, probably will be making right around 26 million. That's like 15% of the salary cap. And what that's projected to be, that's not that much, like, for what he is at the end of the day. So I get the concerns. I do understand them. I don't want to minimize them in any way, just because Keegan has not been quite as good as he was in his second year, in his third year. But again, this is just kind of the going rate for these guys, and will continue to be the going rate for these guys. And on top of it, the Kings are going to turn over this roster, like, at some point, be it in 1 year, 2 years, whatever it is. We'll talk about Russell Westbrook getting signed as well, but, like,
do we have to?
Yeah, like Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, Malik Monk, Dennis Schroeder, and then Sabonis is like an on-ball player who likes to have the ball in his hands as well. It's just a roster that makes no sense right now. And, like, I bet you if you, like, got Sacramento to, like, be very honest with you, I think that they would think, I think this new front office who just stepped in and is not responsible for a lot of this probably would think that as well. So they're going to roll this thing over. They're going to change it up. And to have Keegan Murray, like a good 2-way wing starter on, starter money, I'm not sitting here saying this deal's a bargain. I just think it's like the reality of what this guy gets. Like, that's a good thing for them as they continue to try and figure this thing out.
It's just hard to come by these guys. And I think that's what, whenever you think about it, I had somebody, a Pistons fan, like, man, would love Keegan Murray on Detroit. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of fan bases that would say the same thing. The Lakers would love to having Keegan Murray right now. The Warriors would love to having Keegan Murray right now. And again, I understand. I think there was a comment on Twitter under our thread that was like, he's overrated on D. I think it depends on what people are saying. I don't think he didn't make our top 25, top 30 list of defenders, but this is a guy, in my opinion, that's a good team defender and can be the second best primary, point of attack defender.
He was like somewhere like 40 to 50.
I was gonna say, I think he was
like
in
something
the
like
longer
that. Like
list.
he was good. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the longer list of players. So I agree. Like, if he's not a Min Thompson or a Sar Thompson or Dyson Daniels or whoever. No, he's not those guys. But I think he can be a very important cog on a good defensive team. I think he's just being asked to do a little too much, always taking primary matchups. And then also on the offensive end, yes, the shooting has decreased. And if that continues or stagnates where it was last year, then this is a little bit concerning. I guess for me, my belief is just that he's going to be more in the 37 to 38 3-point percent for his career than staying down at the 34% he was last season. So that's how I evaluate this number, while also just giving a little bit of, I think he's been in an awful context. And I think that takes, and here's the sad thing. it's a worse context this year, as you just outlined, and those numbers may look worse, Sam. And so I think Keegan could end up taking a lot of heat for the contract he's on, where it's not as much of his fault. And so that's concerning, but I'm with you. Like, it's definitely not a bargain. The Kings didn't win this, negotiation, but I don't have issues with it in terms of who I think he is as a player.
Let's just talk about Russell Westbrook now and knock out
Sure.
the Kings here. Russell Westbrook has signed a 1-year minimum deal. I don't understand why the Kings were like so gung-ho on this. Like, I think that the best argument that I've gotten from like somebody on the team side is that,
Can I guess?
regardless of, go ahead.
That it looked good with Jokic last year, so it's going to look good with Sabonis. Is that the argument?
No.
Okay.
No. It was that, like, regardless of what's on the outside about Russ, regardless of what the, perception of him is, like, teammates do really like him, and they like the idea of having a guy who does work incredibly hard and is a really good teammate, like, in this situation, right? Now, like, they just have a lot of on-ball guys, and is Russ going to be like happy in a role where he's like not totally on the ball? Like, I just don't know where his headspace is at on that. So I can't sit here and like say, like, I just don't know one way or another. What I do know is that this roster like does not make sense, right? Having Russell Westbrook now with Dennis Schroeder, Zach LaVine, Malik Monk, DeMar DeRozan, like, those guys are all heavily on ball, want to dribble. And then even in the case of like Schroeder and Russ, like guys that will pass the ball, it still is just going to be very stagnant and kind of gross, I think. And Malik can pass the ball as well. Sabonis can pass the ball, but even Sabonis likes to have the ball in his hands and DHOs and out high on the, like, it's just not a situation that I completely understand. And that's before like we get to the defense and everything with that. So I'm just like not totally sure I understand where. I don't know why you would do this, I guess is my thing, unless it is fully about, we like what this guy's about. We want to show guys like Nick Clifford and Keegan Murray and, Max Reynaud, just what it's like to work and have these like crazy workers around and everything like that. And, have a good teammate and everything like that. That's really my only case for it.
Yeah, I don't ever want this to be an indictment of Russ or like the incredible player he has been and the contributions he can still make to very specific teams. I've seen it firsthand. I don't make it to many NBA games in person, but I went to, I think, 3 Nuggets games last year, and you could see the energy level he brought, Sam. Like, you have a random February game where there's snow on the ground in Denver and it's freezing outside and nobody wants to play, and Russ is there like punking the other team, getting them fired up, and then it ignites this crowd and all of that. And I think that'll play well in Sacramento with their fan base, right? If they're competitive. And so I understand that, but it's the whole, people push back sometimes on there's only one ball thing. And I think it's because they don't fully understand the context of, is these guys, what do they do off the ball? Like, is DeMar really, is he utilized in an off the ball role? Is Sabonis utilized in an off the ball role? Russ can to an extent because he's learned to cut and run in transition, but is that really like, how many of these guys can you have? Dennis Schroeder, the same thing. I've witnessed it with Dennis Schroeder, as good as he was for Detroit last year. It was better. It worked because he was operating with the ball in his hands, playing pick and roll when Cade wasn't on the court. And that's the issue with the one ball thing is yeah, you can have guys that need to be on ball if they can also play off the ball and maximize the offensive flow and, the chemistry and the shot making. And it doesn't seem like they have a roster full of those guys. They have a roster full of guys. It's like, yeah, if he has the ball in his hands and he's creating for himself or his teammates, that works pretty good. That's what's scary and doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's just like you also have diminishing returns when your best player with the ball doesn't have the ball, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're speaking about with Cade to some extent, is that, okay, let's say Zach LaVine's their best player with the ball, right? Well, okay, Russell Westbrook's now going to take possessions on the ball. DeMar's going to take possessions on the ball. That means there are fewer possessions for Levine on the ball.
And Zach
Just
might be their best
artificially, right?
off the ball shooter, player, whatever. And so you may
Yeah.
naturally be like, no, Zach, you got to go play off the ball because you're the best of this trio quartet that can knock down a catch and shoot. So we're more likely to play you off the ball, even if you're still the best on the ball player as well.
Well, and it's just a hell of a spot now for like, look, Doug Christie was there, you know, as an assistant last year and obviously was the interim head coach near the end of the year last year. But I mean, it's a hell of a spot for a new coach, right? For a guy that like doesn't have a ton of experience to me. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what it looks like. I will watch some games early. I think there's a chance it might look pretty ugly, honestly, but we shall see. And we will see if we are wrong. Maybe we're wrong. Who knows? But, you know, this is a team where I would have some frustrations if I was a Kings fan. And I just don't, you know, I don't know what the direction is. It feels like, honestly, the direction is that this thing just needs to kind of turn over and they need to get past the DeMar deal, need to find a home for Malik Monk. Maybe they can find a home for Levine at some point, but just find some interesting spots for some of those guys.
Yeah, I agree.
And then kind of restart this whole thing.
Restart it. Yep. Balance it out.
But the good news to finish this on a closing point, Nick Clifford looks really good in preseason. Keegan Murray is now under contract for 5 years. And I still like Devin Carter, who my guess is like is never going to play on this team now, just because of you have 4 guards, right? And you know, I would imagine they're expecting to play. But yeah, I mean that's kind of where it sits for me. Is they have some guys, and we will see where this goes. Okay. Next up is AJ Green. We're going to get through the positives before we go down the road of some injury stuff. AJ Green, 4-year, $45 million extension. Great deal.
He's so
Makes total
good, man.
sense.
He's so good. I love AJ Green so much.
Anytime we've talked about this with AJ Green and the Milwaukee Bucks, I feel like the number has been 440, right in that ballpark in terms of what we said. Right around $10 million a year. I thought that there was a chance the Sam Merrill deal was going to like diminish this just a touch because he got a little bit less than what I expected this past year. Merrill, that is. I thought that he would be in this 445, 440 range, and he ended up at 438. Now AJ Green's going to get 445. This makes absolutely perfect sense to me. AJ Green is a lights out shooter, like just a point blank lights out shooter who moves incredibly well without the ball, who is a way better defender than what I think gets credit for, frankly, league wide. Like he is tough on the ball. He is a fighter. He scratches. He is willing to like really battle. He has been above 40% from 3 every season of his career. He is at 42% on nearly 700 3-point attempts in his career. So you can count on him to be elite as a shooter point blank. I think that where I'm at on this is just great deal. And this is the question I wanted to pose to you, Bryce. Is he their best backcourt player? I think the answer is yes, right?
I mean, yeah, maybe.
I'll hear out like Gary Trent if someone wants to make that case. Like, I guess I'll listen to a Kevin Porter Jr. take, but like I think that if you made me pick one of their backcourt guys long term, I think I would take AJ.
Yeah, I mean, people know where we stand on the Porter Jr. thing, but on the court, he is a skilled basketball player, and they're probably going to need him, and there's a chance he has a big year. Here's what I'll say about AJ Green. He does a decent job at the point of attack. He stays with guys. He keeps his chest on him. He can absolutely shoot the basketball. He has the shot fake, one dribble, 3-point shot that all big time floor spacers need. He's just good at basketball. And I think he's in for a big time year. And he just makes so much sense with this roster with Giannis. So he's a guy like, I thought what you were going to ask me is, does he start? And it's like, he probably won't because of Kuzma makes $22 million or whatever. But and I don't know if you can then start him at the 2. Maybe you do, but maybe they do. Maybe you go Porter Jr., AJ Green. I don't know, but he's going to play a lot of minutes and knock down a lot of shots, and he's going to be very good for them.
Yeah, this is a good deal for them to me. great fit with Giannis. Like, I love the actions that they run. Like, they will have AJ handle the ball sometimes, and Giannis is the screener. They will have AJ screen for Giannis a lot of the time, and like inverted actions that are really, really fun. They'll have Giannis run DHOs for AJ. Like, I really love the way that those guys play together. They fit off of one another really well, and I think that's actually going to be really important for them this season as they try to manufacture offense with that backcourt.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting. Yeah,
Okay.
great deal for him.
Let's get into the sad part of the news and notes. We'll start with Jaden Ivey. So Jaden Ivey just had surgery on his right knee to address some discomfort, and he's going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks, it feels like. I feel like my first takeaway on this was, if you're the Pistons, you probably just don't do an extension at this point.
Yeah.
Right? You don't risk it. You don't you just don't know totally what's going on with the knee, it feels like, and what he'll look like as he comes back from all of the things that he's kind of dealing with right now. The second piece of it is, okay, I do think they need one more backcourt answer now as well.
Yeah.
And what were your thoughts when you saw this, just beyond like sadness for Jaden Ivey, a player that, prior to this injury kind of seemed like he was coming on near the end of his time on the court last year?
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's disappointing. I've mentioned this before, that the biggest negative of the Pistons season last year was the JI injury. And that one of the biggest things they had to learn this year was, is JI the complement to Cade? Is he a number 2 option? Is he the 6th man? The delta we always talk about with his potential outcomes that we really didn't get to see last year. And really what was the first year that this organization in JI's time has been like made a ton of sense. And so you think you're going to get that healthy offseason, or not healthy offseason, but like the broken leg happened early enough in the season. You feel like he got an offseason. He was in training camp. He was ready to go for the start of the year. And then this happens, and you mentioned it, reevaluated in 4 weeks. Like, Sam, he's going to miss at least 4 weeks of games. My guess is it's like 6 weeks of games. And so it's just a slow start to the year. Unfortunate for JI. So hopefully he's able to get back into it right away. And then for the Pistons in general, I mean, this is, it makes me worried about some of the Cade Cunningham takes I've thrown out there, because I think it affects Cade Cunningham. Because at the end of the day, JI was one of their, like, that's a guy you're counting on to space the floor. And I know that might sound weird to people, but when you're talking about some of the other guys in their 9-man rotation, you don't get very far with their best shooters until you get to him, especially what he did in his 30-game sample last year. And then also playmaking, like the load is already heavy on Cade Cunningham. I know they're experimenting with the Asar Thompson stuff. It's not exactly what Marcus Sasser does in terms of creating for others. JI was just going to have such a huge role for this team. So unfortunate for him. And it puts the team in a tough spot where guys are going to have to step up for, the early part of the season with him out.
I mean, the immediate first thing that I thought of in terms of like how to fix this is there any way that, like, the Malik Beasley investigation by the NBA that he commented on publicly and then deleted on Snap? Did you see that on Snapchat? He I guess that, like, he said something, and then like his lawyer, he like literally put a note up and was like, my lawyer said like to take this down, kind of thing.
Nice.
Like, if that can get sorted out, I mean, there's just like an immediate role for Malik Beasley to make a ton of sense in this spot. Right. Yeah. So maybe that'll happen. Maybe not. We'll see. Spencer Dinwiddie just got cut. Maybe Spencer could make sense as like a, short stint ball handler. I don't know. We'll see. Spencer Dinwiddie, to move on to the next piece of news here. Dinwiddie was the casualty of the Charlotte Hornets roster crunch to go along with Nick Smith. We talked in the early offseason about the fact they had 17 guaranteed contracts. I'm not super surprised here, I guess is what I would say. I think some people were like fairly stunned by this. The reason I'm not super surprised is that they actually do have a lot of ball handlers now. They have LaMelo Ball, Colin Sexton, Trey Mann, and then like Khan can do a little bit of this. I think they probably want Brandon Miller to do a little bit of this, right? There's still a lot of guys that can handle the ball. So Dinwiddie getting his 3.6 million and out made the most sense. The other guy that I think Hornets fans were like a little bit surprised by keeping was Pat Connaughton, but Connaughton keeping that contract at like 8 million or whatever the number is, I think it's like right around 9 million maybe, gives them a lot more trade flexibility in season. Like if they can go get a center, if they start out really well, right, it helps them to have the Connaughton money on their books to be able to go get like a center or something like that if they want to, and then kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense in terms of the money. Yeah, Connaughton, yeah, 9.5. That's a really good number if they decide they need to make a move and help match salary. You also have, 19 million in Colin Sexton I mean, that's what, $28 million or so in expiring money and expiring contracts between Sexton and Connaughton. If you get in a situation where you want to, make a move like that. So that makes sense to me in terms of just the money there. And with Dinwiddie, I mean, you have LaMelo Ball, you have Colin Sexton on the roster, you have Trey Mann. You and I both think Con Knipple can do that a little bit, Brandon Miller. So, just in terms of like the true guards in that situation, I think, you probably feel like you have enough depth.
Well, and the other guard here that is done is Malcolm Brogdon, right? And I think I just want to note here that like I don't know, like I didn't think he looked super great. Just gonna like note that, but I don't know, like people expected him to come in and just like be an immediate rotation player for the Knicks and everything. And I thought there was a chance of that for sure, but like there's a reason that these veterans, and like I saw that Pat Beverly, who I actually like, I don't really care what people think. I think Pat Beverly can be like very thoughtful on things a lot of the time and is like definitely not like what his reputation seems to be either. Obviously can get like emotional on things, but like I think he's a pretty thoughtful dude in general. And he had this thing like about how the league is disrespecting its vets and its like superstar players and things like that. How Russ like wasn't signed and, Carmelo like ended up having to do minimums at the end of his career. Right. And that like the league is like disrespecting its former stars and things like that. I think it's like way simpler than that. It's that the league is deeper than it's ever been. We desperately need expansion. And it's harder for these guys to retain roster spots at the end of the day because they're rebuilding teams that need spots for younger guys that they're developing. There are really good teams that are contending that don't have the roster room at the end of the day just to have like a vet leader like that in the locker room. It's just that the depth of talent league wide has never been deeper, and it's harder just to like give these guys money to stick around when they might expect like a little bit more of a role than what, somebody else might. And when you have other options out there that are like fully in their prime, the margin in the NBA is so small. Once you get past like the superstar level, and these guys that are no longer superstars, right? They're past that level now, and they kind of fit into this bucket of they have to fix their games to be able to figure things out. They have to fix their games to be able to kind of work through things. And on top of it, because these guys oftentimes have played a crazy number of years in the league already because they've been so good for so long, their veteran minimum is way higher.
Than what their numbers got to be higher, right? Than a younger player.
Yeah, so it's just very tricky, I think. And I would love it if guys like Russ and guys like Melo and everything like that could, settle in and be great. And, again, to Pat Bev's point, like he brought up the Antetokounmpos, right? Unless you're an Antetokounmpo, this person in the comments brought up. Shout out Fellini. Yeah, that's true, but they're trying to keep you honest. Like that's the reality. I don't think anybody's going to sit here and try to make a case that Thanasis is better than Russ, but Giannis and Thanasis is a combo. If you have to do that to keep Giannis, is better than any two-player combo that you can probably come up with involving a minimum contract player. So it's hard. It's very tricky. I understand the frustration from former players because they see these guys struggling to get deals and they're like, oh my God, like, how does this happen? Right. But I just think the reality is it's really hard to keep guys around because the depth of talent league wide is just better than it's ever been.
You think these guys will go play in NBA Europe if that happens?
I just don't understand the Europe thing. So like,
I don't either. Like I've like kind of purposely just like not even dove into it because I just, whatever it happens, then I'll understand it. It's just, as you were talking, I was like, okay, does that end up being kind of the succession plan for players as they are kind of ready, like they're not quite good enough yet, but they're not ready to hang it up? Is it easier to go play in that league or whatever because it's still associated with the NBA than, just your normal either NBL team or, other team in Europe or another country, continent, whatever. I wonder if we'll see, a guy like Malcolm Brogdon, if he still wants to play for a couple more years, that's where he ends up going. And that ends up being a place for these guys to really end their careers that want to keep hooping.
Maybe they just did a deal with the NBL to air all the NBL games.
I saw that. Yeah.
Maybe this could be a landing spot like with JaVale this year, right? With Illawarra. I don't know. It's interesting. I do feel for these guys. And I do want to shout out Malcolm Brogdon before we get done. He is retiring now. I don't know if we noted that at the top. Like, it's not like he got cut, but look, career in the NBA, 15 points, 4.1 rebounds, 4.7 assists, 46, 39, 87. Had a 50-40-90 year with Milwaukee in 64 games, 50.5% from the field, 42.6 from three, 92.8 from the line, averaged that 16 points a game. Rookie of the year, sixth man of the year. This is a guy that, where if he didn't have these knees that, were a problem, even frankly, going back to high school, if memory serves, I think he had his first surgery on his knees in high school. Very well, like, could have been, a very, very high leverage, long-term starter on a bunch of great teams. And instead, we're looking at 9 years and he was only able to play 463 games just due to injuries. And that sucks. Like, on a real level, that absolutely sucks.
Yeah, 100%. And that was one. It was interesting to see how it was going to play out for him with the Knicks. So obviously it's really, fun's not the right word. Like, whenever these guys do end up hanging it up, like, to go back and just kind of remember what they were and what they did. And, the sixth man of the year, just a few years ago for him, just kind of reminisce about their careers and how good they were and how impactful that they were, could be at different points. So,
yep. And, Brogdon made $133 million in his career. Right. Shout out to him. I'm sure he's handled that money well. Malcolm is a very, very sharp dude. I remember talking to him when he came out pre-draft. I mean, even then he was so smart and so sharp and so professional. So, absolutely, I'm sure he's taking care of himself and will be in a very positive situation. Just hopefully his knees are able to kind of hold up over his long term. So, yeah. Okay. That's all the news and notes that we're going to talk about. We could talk about Paul George's injury stuff. Feels like he's not going to be ready for the year to start, but, might be ready earlier on, according to Shams. Let's talk about our friends over at NUTRAFOL, though, first. If you're dealing with hair issues like thinning or shedding, but feel totally stuck on what to try next, there are so many products out there, and it's just hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything for you. That's exactly why NUTRAFOL deserves a closer look. It's not just hype, it's physician formulated, clinically tested, and even recommended by dermatologists. NUTRAFOL is that #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can feel great about what you're putting in your body. Since NUTRAFOL hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified, and that is the gold standard and third-party certification for supplements. You will see thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with NUTRAFOL. For a limited time, NUTRAFOL is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to NUTRAFOL.com and enter the promo code Game Theory. Find out why NUTRAFOL is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at NUTRAFOL.com, spelled NUTRAFOL.com, promo code Game Theory. That's NUTRAFOL, promo code Game Theory. Okay, Bryce, time for some bold predictions.
Oh,
I'm
my
excited to do
favorite.
bold predictions. I'm excited to talk about this. I'm excited to kind of roll through this a little bit. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. We always try to kind of run through some things and just kind of, get a little wild, get a little crazy here, right?
I feel like we stay pretty grounded on this podcast. So when we get the excuse to give some hot takes that are a little outlandish, we need to take advantage. And I feel like usually I come up short because even whenever I think I'm giving a bold prediction, you're like, Bryce, like that's not even that bold or whatever. So I'm hoping I do better today, Sam. I'm really hoping.
Okay. I'll let you go first then. If you want to go nuts, let's go nuts.
We'll see. So my first one is the Toronto Raptors lead the NBA in turnovers forced this season, not the Oklahoma City Thunder or anybody else. The Toronto Raptors, eighth. They were eighth last season in turnovers forced. Again, this is not steals, Sam. This is turnovers forced, which I think is an important distinction. I was watching the Raptors Celtics preseason game earlier today, and in the first quarter alone, they forced 3 turnovers that were not steals. They either forced offensive fouls or the ball bounced out of bounds or whatever. They were 8th in all of last season. 2, and this is where I think this is a hot take considering Oklahoma City still plays in this league. They were 2 per game behind the Thunder, but they were 3rd post All-Star break. They've been good in the preseason, and every summer league note I have is about how this team is picking up full court and pressuring and jumping past the lanes and double teaming when they can. And you just go through the roster, and there's a lot of players that I think really play into this. There's some that don't, but Barnes is more than 1 steal a game. RJ Barrett's best steals or second best steals season was with Toronto. Jakob Poeltl's won a game. Grady Dick's right below that. IQ is a super speedy guy. Ingram is long. Abaji, Shed, Mobo, Walter, CMB if he gets on the floor. And I just think that this is how they want to play because that half-court offense could be a little rough. So forcing turnovers and getting out in transition could be a real push from the team. So my first one is the Toronto Raptors lead the NBA in turnovers forced in 2025-2026.
It's interesting. I like it. I think there's a decent chance of this happening. Like, I think that that's like a pretty reasonable one. Oklahoma City's just always going to be my bet for this because they play so
100%.
aggressively.
Yeah.
They have the reason that I like them a little bit more than Toronto in this regard is just because they have the rim protection backing to where their guards can just get hyper aggressive, right? Like J-Dub, Lou Dort, Caruso, those guys can like really, Cason Wallace certainly, those guys can like really press up on players and make life very difficult because they know that Chet and Hartenstein are back there at all times for 48 minutes, right? Unless one of them is hurt. In the Raptors case, like they have Poeltl. That's like really it because I'm assuming that Mamukelashvili is going to be their backup center. And I've liked what I've seen from Sandro in the preseason so far. But I just feel like it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to like fully rely upon, oh no, we've just got guys there. The thing that I will say though about why I do like this a little bit is that I think that they are probably the team that is going to lean most into the full court press stuff this year.
Agreed.
And like the full court, maybe not full court, but like 3/4 court pressure stuff with their guards. Like guys like Jamal Shed, I even think like Quickly will probably do a little bit of it this year. Like those guys, like they're Chucky Hepburn. I mean, my goodness, like that guy has been like, even fun in their preseason games, right?
Sure.
So like I think that they're probably going to lean into it a little bit more than what other people will league wide. And that can create opportunity for turnover as well. So I think that this is an interesting prediction.
And that's why, like, I didn't want to predict like a top defensive rating thing for the Raptors. I'll actually come back to that with a team later because of what you said. I think they may get torched doing this some nights, to be clear, Sam. Like, there may be some teams with multiple ball handlers or teams that are really connected or whatever that just absolutely torch them or get to the rim and finish at a high rate, because I like Pirtle, but I think he's a positional defender. He's not like a scare you type of defender at the rim or anything like that. Scotty, like as a rotation, rim protector is kind of the most exciting thing in regards to that. But I think they will lean into it. My worry is, does the starting lineup eventually decide they don't want to do it? I think the second unit between Jacoby and Jamal and those guys, they're going to get up in full court press. Chucky, whenever he gets to play.
Murray Boyles will be super aggressive.
Yeah, Murray Boyles will be good at this. But, will Brandon Ingram still be bought into it 30 games into the season? Will IQ be doing it 30 games into the season? Will, RJ be doing it 30 games into the season? That was kind of my hesitation going with it. I just think they're like, I just remember every game I watched it, they were the team that stood out the most at Summer League because of how they defended.
Yeah.
And it's, you know what I mean? And even in you watch in the preseason, I want to emphasize, don't just look at the steal numbers. There was 3 examples where it was turnovers that weren't actual steals in the box score from the other team. So I think they're just really going to lean into it. And especially when the offensive in the half court, breaks down for them.
Yeah, I've kind of liked the fact that Toronto, like, for instance, in the Boston game, right? Like, they played the guys that it seems like they're planning to start, like, quite a bit. Like, they're trying to figure this thing out. It feels like a little bit. And the defense almost like feels, it's funny because I've had questions about their defense. Like, they were good late in the year last year, but, they kind of had like a really easy schedule late in the year last year. And you just never know with end of season basketball, like how much of that is going to continue to carry over. Right. But man, I've really, really enjoyed just the willingness that they have to fight on that end. And I feel like just from a like technical perspective and I feel like their defense, like when I watch them, feels a little bit ahead of their offense right now.
I would agree.
We're like hoping that their offense would take a jump with Brandon Ingram and everything. And, look, this leads into my bold prediction, right? It's that Toronto is going to make the playoffs, just straight up. Like, they're a playoff team. They're not a play-in team. Has the preseason given me some doubts? A few, honestly. And I think that this is where we can bring up like the Scotty Barnes of it all, right? So I think he's like, God, like 6 for 30 or something shooting in the preseason. And more than anything to me, it's felt like he has been the player that has had to adjust to the talent incoming around him. Instead of like Toronto having Brandon Ingram adjust to what's happening, it feels like Scotty is adjusting to what's happening. Right.
Yep.
And that's interesting to me on some level. It makes sense and it doesn't make sense to me, right? Because like where it makes sense is that Scotty has always shown, even going back to high school at Montverde, like this ability to be a connector, like this amazing 3rd or 4th option who can like really just move the ball, cut off the ball, like be able to do some things in transition, rebound, grab and go, do everything like that, right? In the NBA, he's been more of like, maybe not like always the primary number 1 guy, especially when Pascal was there, but like he has been one of the top 2 guys a lot of the time. And his game has grown in that respect in a real way. Now, the problem with Scotty playing in more of an off-ball role next to like Brandon Ingram, and I don't want to say he's like been totally off the ball in the preseason because that's not the reality, but like not being on the ball quite as much, is that he's not a great shooter. And like, will teams guard him consistently away from the rim? My guess is no, that they won't, which means like you almost certainly need him like really on the ball, in my opinion, in this situation. And again, I don't want to say he hasn't been on the ball in the preseason. He has been, but it has felt like a little bit more like egalitarian in the way that they've attacked? Like, have you felt that way when you've watched them?
Yeah. So it's specifically with him in the Celtics game. I didn't get all the way through it, but I felt like he was just like, I feel like he wasn't involved for a long time. It seemed like they were trying to get Brandon Ingram going, and then Scotty kind of got going, and it was like, but then everything was like mid-range isolations. And I was like, no, I want to see Scotty moving. Like, if you're going to play him off the ball, let's get him moving. Let's let him set a ball screen. Let's get him in the dunker spot, running in for an offensive board, all of that. I did think at times, Sam, that the flow was okay, but their possessions got disrupted because either they made an off-target pass or they weren't able to convert the shot or something like that. So I feel like they weren't able to, you see them trying to do the right things, but they weren't able to capitalize it on them because guys either the final piece wasn't a shot maker, or the connector piece wasn't an on-target passer, or whatever. And so it just looks a little bit clunky in the half court, which I don't think is something we are going to be surprised by to see. We knew that there was a chance this could be an issue for them.
Yeah. The good news for Toronto is that Brandon Ingram looks awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and he is scoring the shit out of the ball for them. Like, I know that he went 8 for 22 against the Celtics, and like the efficiency wasn't all that sweet, but man, I thought that he has looked pretty good to this point. And I'm just like fascinated to see where this kind of settles in on offense. I think that they're like, part of this too is that it's like typical preseason stuff where I'm really interested to see how their rotations settle out. Like, how can they stagger guys in order to get them the on-ball reps that they need? And I think that Darko can hopefully figure that out. I think just talent-wise, like, this team just has a lot of bodies that I think are really good at the end of the day. Like, I think Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl and RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, like, those guys are all, I don't know, low end, top 150 players in the league, like all starting caliber players, right? I really like Sandro. Like, I've always been kind of a Sandro guy, and I think he can be really useful within this dribble, pass, shoot, 5 out kind of scheme that Darko really likes. Ochai Agbaji is definitely a really good shooter and can take on tough defensive assignments. Shed and Hepburn fit the idea that you said in terms of how they want to play on defense. Mobo fits that idea on how they want to play on defense.
CMB.
Yeah, CMB definitely fits that idea. Jacoby Walter and Grady Dick are very real, like, offensive pieces at the very least. I think that these guys are just so deep with talent that they're going to be able to kind of wear things out in the regular season a little bit.
And I think you and I are obviously building off of each other's ideas. It's kind of funny that the Raptors are getting the first 20 minutes of this part of the episode, but that's why I do think they can be like, I just think they're going to torch some teams. I always say February. I don't know why I say February, January, whatever, like those doldrum games, where, a team's on the road or, whatever, comes to Toronto on, whatever, like their style. And then they just have so many guys that can play into that style. I'm with you that I think they're going to be a successful regular season team. I'm not quite as high as you, but I'm higher, like a very strong over on them. They were actually my first pick in the draft. Shout out me. Should have taken the first pick, Sam. But I have worries about what that means long-term and in the playoffs, right? Like, does this style play out in a series, in a playoffs, all of that, and like not having a true number one option? But for regular season wins in this Eastern Conference, I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of into it, to be honest with you. I'm going to watch a lot of their games early in the season to see how it's playing out.
Yeah. I agree. Like, I'm like pretty in on Toronto being a good regular season team. I have a lot of questions in the playoffs. I have a lot of questions in like what their long-term moves are. Like, I think they are ripe for a consolidation trade, as we've talked about quite a bit. But yeah, I think that where I'm at is that this team just has a lot of talent and they could figure things out at the end of the day.
Yep. And they have an identity and a play style, which I always kind of respect about teams and buy into a little bit more when you kind of can pinpoint that.
Okay. You're up with your second bold prediction, Bryce.
Okay. So Sam Vecenie, how many unanimous rookie of the years have there been in the NBA?
3.
There have been 6. You want to
Yeah.
take a guess? Like any
6 unanimous.
unanimous?
Oh God.
One
We'll be
happened.
here.
One happened very recently.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be here too long if I really try and sit through this. I mean, was Wemby unanimous?
Wemby is the most recent.
Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't have thought that Jordan would have been.
Jordan
Was
was not.
LeBron unanimous?
LeBron was not. So here's where this breaks down a little bit. There's a lot that as I went through every single year where it's like somebody got 1 vote or 2 votes or
Yeah,
something like that.
I'm like trying to think through like the truly like dominant rookies. Like Shaq was a dominant rookie. Was Shaq one?
Shaq was not one.
Interesting. Was Tim Duncan one?
No. Teammate
David Robinson.
David Robinson was one.
Okay. A
non-rookie rook. Okay, that's fine. Karl Anthony
Oh,
Towns.
Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
Blake
yeah,
Griffin.
Yeah.
Would have been
So,
one. That's right.
in reversed order, Victor 23-24, Cat in 2015-16, Dame
Oh, okay.
2012-2013, Blake in 10-11, Robinson in 89-90, Ralph Sampson in 83-84. Here's my next question, real quick. How many of those guys did not lead the rookie class in points per game?
0.
Zero.
They were
The
unanimous. Yeah.
The close was Karl Anthony Towns. Victor was by 4 points, Dame by 4, Blake by 6, David Robinson by almost 10, Ralph Sampson by almost 9. My bold prediction is Cooper Flagg becomes the 7th player in history to unanimously win Rookie of the Year, while Ace Bailey leads the rookie class in points per game, making Cooper the first player to win Rookie of the Year unanimously without leading the class in points per game.
This is a bold prediction, and I love the specificity on it. Explain more.
So listen, we've given our predictions for what we thought Cooper was going to do this year, and I feel pretty good about it. Like, here's where he may end up scoring like 20 a game. I don't know. He looks good. I love Cooper Flagg. And what he does is I feel like when I watch, he just scores in bunches. He may not score for the first quarter, and then he puts 12 on the board like that. And so I may end up looking really stupid here, but I very much think Cooper Flagg wins Rookie of the Year. He's going to be put in a situation where he has a huge role on both ends of the floor. I think that team's going to at least win enough games where it's not going to be like, oh, he's not doing it on a team that wins game and is competitive and all of that. But is there a world where he only averages 15 points a game, maybe 16 points a game? I think there is, depending on how the other, perimeter players, how many games AD plays, all of that. And then we talked about Ace Bailey recently. I'm not sure I think Ace Bailey's going to go score 20 for Utah, but that's the team that needs some guys that score the basketball and put it in the hoop. And you and I both love what they're doing with him in Utah. His efficiency isn't going to stay what it's been in the preseason, but I feel like they're going to lean into that all year long. And again, they need guys that can score the basketball. So if he averages 17 a game, 18 a game, and Cooper averages 16, I think this world can happen. And I don't think he gets a vote over Cooper Flagg if Cooper puts up the 16, 6, and 4 or 5 and the defense and they win games and Utah wins 15 games. And so, I kind of went down this rabbit hole and I kind of like where I ended up at it. And I like it. So that's my thought process is Ace Bailey leads the rookie class in points per game, but Cooper Flagg unanimously wins Rookie of the Year.
I like this. This is wild. Like, I think that there's a chance Cooper wins unanimous Rookie of the Year. This is more skepticism of the voters for Rookie of the Year.
So that's
anything.
Sam. I like it.
Trying to get 100 of those people to agree on anything is a real bold one.
So this is where it really breaks down. It like Paolo wasn't unanimous because Walker Kessler
got a couple.
2 votes and he finished 3rd behind J-Dub at 2. Like there was a whole bunch of them where it's like, honestly, now Ja Morant didn't win it. Zion got 1 vote. Who Kendrick Nunn finished 2nd that year. Wow. Okay.
Things were a bit Wild West.
He did average 15 points a game. Oh my God. Sam, this list is amazing. This is rookie of the Ja, Kendrick Nunn, Zion, Brandon Clark, Kobe White, Terrence Davis, Eric Paschall, and RJ Barrett. There's a couple names
Love it.
there that aren't like the others. Sorry, rabbit hole that doesn't need to be go down. But so it's a little, I cheated a little bit, being very specific about unanimous, but I thought it would be fun. So
I love it. By the way, speaking of Ace Bailey, go over to the Game Theory Substack.
yes.
We have breakdowns from preseason games on Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. We have breakdowns on Cooper Flagg and who did I do? Shaden Sharp as well.
Yep.
Today, my first breakdown of 2 that I will have on Darren Peterson, that went live. So I'm really excited for you guys to watch that. Darren Peterson to me is the clear number 1 player in the class. I went for an hour on his game against Columbus High School, which had Cam Boozer, Caden Boozer, Jackson Richardson, 3 5-star players that are really talented. Obviously, Cam Boozer is the guy I have at number 2. Go to the Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com. gametheorysamv.substack.com. Go subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, you've got the little QR code. You can go that way. If you are listening, go subscribe. GameTheorySamV.substack.com. We have previews of all of those things as well. So if you want to get a taste of what it is, we give like the first 15 to 20% of these breakdowns for free. So like in the Darren Peterson one, you'll get like 15 minutes of me talking about Darren Peterson, like just for you to see, basically, to see if you vibe with it. Go subscribe. Really, really fun. Okay. My second one now is about San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
And I am already taking an L on a take that I had like 2 weeks ago or whatever. I was wrong to take San Antonio's under when we did win total over unders. I'm just saying right now, hand up, I was wrong. Bad take, Sam, is what it is. Not only do the Spurs hit their over, they just straight up make the playoffs as well.
Okay.
I think that this team is going to be quite good. And I think what I underestimated with them is I don't know if I underestimated how good Wemby is, but I think that to some extent I was like, oh no, he's going to be great. He's going to average like 26, 12 and 5 and everything's going to be good. And we're all going to be sweet. Right. I underestimated how many really, really good players they have on that roster already. Even like while Sohan is out with this like wrist injury or whatever. Guys like even like Keldon Johnson is your 8th man, right? And like Luke Cornett is there as your backup center. And like Julian Champagnie is like deep on the bench, right? And you obviously have Castle, you have Vassell, you have Dylan Harper, who, as I said, you did a breakdown on the Substack, right? Dylan Harper looks ready to go right now. Looks ready to go on defense, looks ready to go as a playmaker. The jumper looks a little bit better to me. This dude is ready, in my opinion, to be like a real dude for them immediately. So then you throw in like Shooter and Harrison Barnes, and you throw like all of these dudes, right? I think they just have a little too much talent surrounding Wemby. And I think that assuming that Wemby ends up in that like top 5 or 6 MVP conversation, like you and I talked about when we did awards predictions, I think that there's just enough talent there for it to be they are in the play-in or the playoffs, not the play-in.
Yeah.
And they win like 48-ish games or so.
Listen, I went under as well. And I mean, it wasn't one that I loved. I think my thing was like, okay, do they end up just being maybe, 1 year, one more year before like they really make that push? I have them in the play-in, like right there, but like, I would not be surprised if they went to the over. And a lot of it has to do with Wemby. I mean, we can't ever say enough about him, but I'm with you. I kind of, De'Aaron Fox, obviously, as well. Vassell, I like this, have come to like appreciate Vassell's game a little bit. You mentioned Keldon Johnson, especially if he's coming off the bench for you. I think Harrison Barnes is like a nice 5th starter when you have this other talent around it. Dylan Harper, I said it in that breakdown, like defensively is where he really impressed me. Like I have some questions offensively, like he's got to start using his right hand more and something, but he still plays with awesome pace. And he had a really smooth looking corner catch and shoot three in that game. But defensively, man, he made some real plays, like understood some screen navigation stuff, made a great play on a tag of the lob to the roll man, and he showed the explosion to go up, tap it away, start transition. And listen, Julian Champagnie, I think people can probably start to figure out the type of players I really like. AJ Green, Julian Champagnie, Sam Merrill, these guys that can really shoot it, but also defend a little bit, will rebound. I think that's a guy that makes a lot of sense for this roster in terms of just providing floor spacing and being low maintenance, needing the ball or anything else. So I think it's really like, how do you incorporate all of the defensively is where I'm like, man, they could be really good depending on certain lineups. Castle on the floor, whatever Dylan Harper ends up being as a rookie, Sohan, obviously. Yeah, it's a fun roster. I'm still cool with where I was at on them, but I get it.
Yeah, I'm just I'm pretty bullish on them at this point after seeing them. Like I think they look really, really good. Is kind of where I'm at. This is without Fox too, is the crazy thing. And like I think De'Aaron's going to be really big for them as well.
Yeah.
Like I think he comes in and just like immediately helps. Yeah, I am a big fan. Like everything I've seen in the preseason like reminded me, oh no, like this team should be actually quite good, like pretty quickly here because of Wemby like taking this massive leap that we're expecting, and probably being ready from day one to be like that. Is 27 and 12 and 5 guy, and man, like the fact that he already looks the way that he does is just like crazy to me. Like that game against Indiana, like on Tuesday, was insane. He played like 25 minutes and had 27 and 11 rebounds and just completely took it over. Yeah. I mean, that guy's like a top 5 or 6 player in the league probably already.
Yeah. I mean, I will be surprised if he's not the fifth guy whenever we do, or I was already thinking about quarter, we haven't played a game yet. And I was like, man, I wonder what quarter of the season awards are going to look like, like who's going to be our first team.
Yeah.
Like my guess is that he ends up being the fifth guy along with the 4 we've mentioned, again, assuming health for everybody and all that. Really where I think about that is like, where can Cade Cunningham get, like Homer conversation here. It's like, I think Cade's due for a huge year. And, can he get into the, first team all NBA? And it's like, if everybody's healthy, I just don't see how he does, because I just think Wemby is going to be that good. So if we get to some of our, ones that we didn't choose, we can talk more about that later. Cause I did have a Cade Cunningham bold prediction that's not going to end up in my top few.
Okay. Bryce, you're up at number 3.
I'm gonna say defensive here with this one. The Portland Trail Blazers, who last season were 16th in defensive rating, but 4th post All-Star break, will be top 5 in defensive rating for the entirety of the 25-26 NBA season, on the back of Drew Holiday replacing Anthony Simons minutes, even more minutes from Donovan Clingan, my guy, maybe our guy, Toumani Camara leading the charge, and just a team that I think, and then, what are you going to get from Matisse Thybulle and even Robert Williams, who's still on this roster as well? Now, my scary part is there's some defensive liabilities on this roster that may play minutes. Young Hansen, perhaps Shaden Sharp. I think Scoot can probably be at least a neutral defender. We'll see.
So like what I'm trying to figure out is how much Hansen is going to play.
So you tell me that, because this feels better if I don't think they're going to lean into it. But when you are as bold as what they were going and getting him, I'm surprised if he doesn't get rotation minutes, but maybe I'm wrong there.
Well, to me, it's just all about like, is Rob Williams going to play?
For
right?
Sure.
Because like, you are literally never going to play Rob Williams in the preseason, right? There's just no reason to do that. But also, like, he has had very real concerning injury updates, like heading into the year, right? Yeah. I don't know. Like as of a couple weeks ago, he wasn't cleared yet after knee surgery. So like maybe he's just not going to play, and maybe they will need Young to play quite a bit. I have not. Hansen has had some really good offensive stuff in the preseason where I've been like, okay, like there are flashes here where the talent was always there.
Yeah,
It's just the defense and like the movement ability and everything was always my significant question with him. I have not seen anything in the preseason that gives me much hope for him on defense as a rookie. I'm not saying he can't improve. Like he will, I hope, get better as his career goes forward. And he's clearly a very smart, intuitive player. But just purely this year as a rookie, I do not see much of a like positive situation for Hansen. Him dealing with pick and pops, him getting caught in no man's land and ball screen coverages. Like teams are going to involve him in action every single time, I think.
Yeah. And so like that's where this could really break down. If there's a whole lot of minutes for him because, Rob Williams isn't able to play at all, if, Thibault doesn't play at all, but even someone like Jeremy Grant, who I don't think is the defender he was at one point in his career, is still like a long athletic forward that can take certain matchups and has a decreasing offensive role, whether he may not like that, but giving him energy to play on the defensive end. So people know by now, I really like this team. I love Deni Avdija. I love Tumani. I think Drew's really, I'm worried about like the preseason game I watched. Drew was doing way too much on the offensive end for what I would like. I hope that doesn't have to continue for them. And like I said, like I think Scoot can be a neutral defender just with like his strength and athleticism and all of that. We'll see where Shaedon gets, but I like this team. They were good down the stretch. I wanted to get like crazy and say top 3, but I was just like, okay, that's just like, OKC, Orlando, Houston, Minnesota. Like there was just too many teams. I'm like, I don't know if I can do top 3.
The thing I would tell you though, is that like that ceiling is there for them to be a top 3. Like if you're a Portland fan, like I absolutely think the ceiling is there for them to be a top 3 defense. That could 100% bear itself out. They could be, between Klingon taking a big leap, because Klingon, that dude is a real defender. And I think he does look in better shape than what he was last season. Drew Holiday, obviously an elite defender. Toumani Camara is, one of the 15 best defenders in the league, just point blank. And then, certainly one of probably the 5 or 6 best perimeter defenders in the league. And then on top of it, you have Deni Avdija, who's also a good defender. Like, I think that Deni goes like way under the radar when we talk about this. Like, I would say Deni is like a top 50 or 60 defender in the league himself. He's not like an all defense guy, but he's really good on that end and like a real positive. So, we'll see what they do with Jeremy Grant. We'll see what they do with some of these like vets when the deadline comes, but then like maybe they play Thibault a little bit, and Thibault, is obviously a really high level defender too. So I'm fascinated with their team. I'm fascinated with how they go about kind of building these things out. And I will say, to your point, like I have never been a Shaedon Sharpe fan on defense. I do think Shaedon is showing more effort and seems to be, outside of the fourth quarter in the game I broke down, like a bit more engaged defensively this year than what we've seen previously. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in this prediction, and I think it could come to fruition.
Yeah, maybe I should have been a little more bold. Maybe I stopped myself from, maybe I should just went for it all with the top 3, but I felt like I was being bold top 5 considering they were 16.
I think top 5 is, I think that's good.
Good. I'm kind of proud of myself then. I feel like I've been gone out there a little bit.
5 is high, man.
Yeah.
So, okay. Golden State Warriors. Do you want Golden State Warriors or do you want Orlando Magic for my last one?
Orlando.
Let's just close the offseason with Orlando because it's probably the team we've talked about most. I'm going Orlando Magic, number 1 seed in the East.
Oh, let's go.
I thought about just saying 2 because I thought the 2 would be bold.
No.
But like, let's just go nuts.
Go
nuts.
Crazy. Go crazy,
like
Sam Vecenie.
The whole point of this episode is bold. The whole point of this episode is to get silly a little bit and just get crazy. And like, it is what it is, right? So I'm saying Orlando Magic, number 1 seed. What is my case? top 3 defense, top 5 defense, whatever you want to call it, just because they have that infrastructure built with Jamal Mosley, with certainly all of the defensive pieces that they have from their starting lineup of, when Jalen Suggs is in, and then certainly Franz Wagner is a terrific defender. Wendell Carter is a terrific defender. Off the bench, you have Goga, you have Jonathan Isaac. Like, we know what their defensive infrastructure is, right? It's very good. Offensively, I think that they should be much better. Like, you have Desmond Bane, you have Paulo, hopefully having more space to actually get all the way to the rim because Bane is there. I would hope that as the season progresses, we get more like really creative, fun, like, quote unquote guard to guard, more like inverted actions with Paulo and Bane that I think could get really, really fun and tough. Franz, I think, continues to look great. At the end of the day, like his play with Germany, everything like that, like this dude's going to keep taking leaps. Desmond Bane's a massive get for them, just offensively. They've needed somebody like this in the backcourt forever. And he's also a tough defender that fits in with their mentality. I think this team wins well over 50 games this year and looks terrific. The other guy that, like, I have been very skeptical as to whether or not Jace Richardson was going to be able to play as a rookie. He looked quite good in preseason.
So I haven't caught a they're one team I haven't caught a preseason game of yet, but I saw people tweeting about him the other day. So he must have had a good performance.
Yeah,
he had multiple
good
performances.
He's had a couple that have been pretty good. He is, just a guy that is really knocking down shots. He looks very comfortable, which is something that we expected, right? Just a guy that looks super comfortable in terms of like poise and playmaking ability. I think that the key is that they continue to run him off of different off-ball actions and allow him to get downhill to his left, right? Like that is something that will be much easier. I don't know if he's going to play when the regular season comes around, like immediately, right? Like I just don't know. I don't know what their rotation is going to shake out as. I'm not going to sit here and be like preseason basketball is exactly the way it's going to look in the NBA because it's just not. But I think that Jace might be able to help them. It's not impossible that he's able to help them. The issue is just that Tyus is there. And Tyus is another reason why I think this team, has a good chance to be pretty good, because if guys get hurt, they have some real backcourt depth now to be able to handle the offensive load. I think that they just have a lot of bodies. I'm expecting a big, like breakout level all NBA season from Paulo, which we've talked about before. I think Franz continues to take steps forward to be like a borderline all-star. I think he would have been an all-star last year if he didn't get hurt. Essentially, if they can be like a top 3 defense and I don't know, like I think they have a chance to be a top 10 offense. I think they probably don't get there, but they have enough pieces to do it now and to like get it together to where maybe they're like a top 15 offense. And, the Cavs deal with some injuries. The Knicks with a new coach kind of deal with some growing pains early in the year, trying to adjust to that, adjusting to have Mitchell Robinson back in the lineup, which is largely good, but, could involve some growing pains with a new coach, right? I think Orlando sneaks in and goes for it and gets the number 1 seed. That's my boldest prediction.
I love it. I mean, when we talked about the over-unders, I said I thought all 3 of those teams would win 50 games, and I went under on the Cavs, even as the number 1 seed, thinking that they would be somewhat sandwiched together close there at the top. And so, as you were talking through that, I agree with a lot of what you're saying about Orlando. So I was trying to find like, what would be my argument on why maybe Cleveland or New York came back to them just a little bit. I think for Cleveland, you said it was the injuries that they're starting the season with, even though, we love Sam Merrill and, all of that. But it's also like, is that a team that maybe at this point is like, hey, we got to win in the playoffs if we want to keep this together and prove something. And so they may maybe approach the regular season a little bit different in the second year of Kenny Atkinson. The New York one is a little harder for me outside of like Brunson misses a bunch of time or something, because I assume they're going to push in the regular season with Mike Brown joining, in his first year, trying to figure things out and it coming together. But maybe there's a learning curve, to your point, where you're bringing in Mike Brown, new coach, where is there a side of the ball where they struggle to figure out the new schemes? Do they adjust? Does it take a little while to adjust to the two big starting lineup and then the rotations off the bench? How does their depth hold up if they do, suffer some injuries? So I'm here for it. I don't think those teams are going to, like, where I could see OKC still running away with the West, even though I think Denver's going to be really good. I don't think any team's running away with the East. I think all three of those teams end up pretty sandwiched together at the top.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I think they're all going to be very, very close at the end of the day. Well, Bryce, I think we're done. I think we're going to get out of here in a 1:15 window.
Can I throw a couple others at you just to see what you think?
Let's go crazy.
So I had Trae Young, 12 assists per game for the first time in 30 plus seasons. Stockton was the last one to do it, like 30 years ago.
Yeah, I think that is a good shot to happen.
So he's trended up every year of his career, 11.6 last season. Some of the things I put was like stretch big, obviously, with Kristaps, Jalen Johnson all year running in transition, year 2 of Risa Shea. You have, Na at 38% from three the last 3 years, Kennard 44% for his career. Another one, this is one I'm interested. Cade Cunningham has the best season of all American-born players in the 25-26 season.
So Jokic, Doncic, Giannis all eliminated.
Wemby out. All
Wemby
of the
out. So it's between him and Ant and Brunson and Mitchell. Yeah.
Yeah. Paolo. I
like it. That's a good one. That's a fun one.
Okay.
It's somewhat bold. I like it.
I think it would be. I just didn't go there because, one, I didn't want people to pull the homer card, and two, the Jaden Ivey injury terrifies me with kind of what things are going to look like there now. I got to hash that out a little bit. I put Peyton Pritchard leads the NBA in 3-point makes this season.
That's crazy aggressive, but I'm for it.
I mean, he was 6th last season.
Man, I guess I didn't realize that. That's pretty wild.
I think Derek was 5th, and now he was Ant was 320 last year, and Malik was 319. Pritchard was all the way at 250. No, it was 4th and 5th actually. So it went Ant, Beasley, Curry, White, Pritchard.
Yeah, I think Ant does it. I think Ant's probably going to lead the league if you made me bet. Or Steph. Like, it'll be Ant or Steph.
I tried to do something with Benedict Mathurin and where I thought he ended up in points per game, but I just couldn't talk myself in it to being like a significantly high enough number. So
I struggled with like the player based ones this time. Like, I don't know if I'm like getting too into the weeds on that still. I guess I've always been super in the weeds on it, but like, I don't know where the line is anymore on like bold or not bold for player stuff now. Like, that was a hard one for me to try and like determine, which is why I kind of did it a little bit differently.
Well, that's what
team-based stuff.
I had 2 of my 3 ended up being team-based as well. The Cooper Flagg Trae Young one was like I could go through historical context to make it bold. You know what I mean? Like, I think whenever you say Trae Young's going to do something that hasn't been done in 30 years, I feel like that should probably be looked at as bold, but you can see why he could do it. And it was the same thing with Cooper Flagg. Like, that's the one I workshopped the most and eventually landed on like, I wonder how many players have been unanimous. And then I was like, I wonder how many have been unanimous and not been the leading scorer of rookies that year. So I think you have to kind of get into the weeds if you want to do those ones. So
this is one I thought about, but I knew you were going to do Portland. Shaedon Sharpe averaging 25 a game. That was like one of the player ones. I was like, I think that has a chance to happen just because no Scoot early can really establish himself like on the ball a little bit. And they do kind of need somebody to really score the ball there.
No, that's what I was saying with Drew Holiday earlier is, I mean, that's he was doing a little too much offensively for me. By the way, I'm going on that podcast on Monday to talk Sacramento Kings from the comment that just came up. So,
I forget what I was going to ask you. So Shaden Sharp, based on what we've seen in the preseason, what is the number that you would give him? Because I said like I wouldn't feel great going above like 480, 482 or whatever I said at the time, right? I think I'd be willing to go like right below 400 now based off of what we've seen.
Sure.
I'm not like going nuts with it. Like I'm not sitting
Yeah.
here going like giving him 30 a year. But like I'd probably be willing to
So
go.
here's the thing. Like, I think Shaden Sharp is at least like, if he really bought into it and it's really what he needed to be, like that's one of the better 6 men in the league in terms of just putting the ball in the basket.
Yeah.
And if you give him that number, like
that's your like worst case scenario.
That's your, yeah.
Like honestly, I don't even know if that's like his worst case scenario might be higher than that now.
Sure.
Bryce, honestly.
Sure. No, it's just the archetype. If he's not your number one or number two, gets a little funky where it's almost better for him to be in that role, like just in general. But my point is, like at $25 million a year, if he's your sixth man, like that's not necessarily an overpay anymore. Like that's what the best men are getting.
I think that's my opinion. And I think that given what we've seen in the preseason, and I know this is so fucking stupid to base this off preseason. Like I'm fine with that being the reality. But I think that there's enough ceiling here to where if you got him at like 24, 25 and he like really breaks through, you are like so golden in terms of getting surplus value. Like there is such a big gap in terms of what the surplus value is and what he is. Cause like he could be like a 45 guy in terms of what the actual value is. And you have him at 25 for 4 years. I would want that swing right now.
Yeah.
I think is where I'm at.
Yeah. This is one where if you let the season play out and he averages 25 a game, like the comment, and it's like, man, this dude's the driving force of our offense, scoring load wise, you know, he may not even be your best all-around player. Like Denny may still end up being your best all-around player, but it's like, actually he fits really well playing off of Denny and Scoot and Tamani. You are like, oh shoot, like we're going to have to pay him a boatload more than that. So, which makes you wonder, like, is Shaden and his side willing to take that number? And that's why I'm always like, okay, would you be willing? Would he take a shorter term deal at that number, you know, or would they go higher on, you know, like I'm always interested to see, but you know, we're what, 3 days away for those things to be done. So
yeah,
4 days away, a little bit longer.
Yeah. We should have a decent view of them on Sunday.
Yeah.
There's a non-zero chance we do the podcast Monday, Bryce. Like I'm not,
just in case.
We'll see. It'll either be Sunday or Monday, depending on how many extensions get done, everything like that. But we will be back in a few days to finally get done with all of this preseason garbage that we're just spouting. We're going to get real basketball, guys. I couldn't be more excited.
Paid Sharp $25 million because of the preseason. And
based on preseason. That's where I'm at. I gave him like a good $3 or $4 million a year more based on preseason.
It's important basketball. Where's the dog?
That's where
Sam?
I'm at.
Where's the little rat at?
Oh, Laura's home today, so she's with Laura.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I have a small cat here.
I'm not really a cat guy.
Very, very good cat. But we have 3 cats, one of which is blind, as you know.
I do know.
The blind one is the best cat in the world. We love her so much. But this one also is the best. And our other older cat is the best. So they're all the best. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops, Twitter, Blue Sky, Substack. If your favorite team plays the Pistons, like the Wizards did tonight, I will have notes on that game over there for free. The Pistons Pulse podcast. Otherwise, the Game Theory Substack, where I provide my little bit shorter video breakdowns over NBA draft and NBA players throughout the season, along with everything Sam's doing. And right here, the Game Theory podcast with the Sam Vecenie.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been like paying attention at all to the Rockets, but like we've got some Reed Shepherd doing stuff, steamy action right now, which is great. It's glorious. He had like a 1 minute stretch where he like drilled a three, then like crashed in for this like crazy like leaning put back, and then like got a pick six for a dunk. He threw the ball down. Actually, Bryce, we're rolling. We're absolutely rolling.
I see you, Reed.
Man, Reed. I'll be interested. I wonder if they start him. It's kind of where I'm at. Like
they went super big the game I watched with Amin, KD, Jabari, Şengün, and Steven Adams. I just like, this is freaking amazing.
They're gonna do that a lot, but like I don't know if that's
here's what happened. And listen, the Pelicans defense, important context, but it just like disrupted their matchups where Jordan Poole was trying to check Jabari Smith Jr. And so they just posted Jabari Smith Jr. and he got easy buckets. So it's that team's so much fun. I'm fascinated.
Yeah. Okay. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed. I have filed. I mean, I'll give you the updated number, Bryce. I have filed. Oh no, I hit the 32,000 words of draft guide so far. And I'm like in the process of ordering a top 100 right now. That will be my job for later on today, is ordering a top 100 to go live on The Athletic at some point before the college basketball season. We have meetings galore to try and figure out scheduling, but we will have stuff up on the site. I promise you that. That is definitely true. Until then, we will have things on the Substack. Go to the Substack, gametheorysamv.substack.com. gametheorysamv.substack.com. It's the best way to support the show. We appreciate you guys immensely for everything you do for the show. We appreciate all of you for coming to hang out with us during all of these live shows and everything. We will be back with more at some point in the next couple of days. It'll be Sunday, Monday, somewhere in that ballpark. We'll figure it out. I believe the Steelers are playing right now as well. So I need to maybe check in on that and see how big of a disaster this is going right now, because, oh boy. But until next time, we'll talk soon.